Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcasts, your weekly injection of mind-numbing local news. My name is Alex, and joining us, as always, is Rob from lockdown.
I mean, Alex, I've been in lockdown for a long time now. What's this? Is this week 8 now? I've kind of lost track.
But I've often been wondering, did your spell inside Her Majesty's prison, that must have been a good sort of practice ground for what you're going through now, or what we're going through now. I mean, this must be a cakewalk. And obviously you don't have to deal with the unwelcome attention of burly men, Rob. Although you might miss that, I don't know.
I think you'll find, actually, that prisons these days are a lot like a holiday camp. Not like a Butlins, with the mould and the shit on the walls. An enjoyable holiday camp.
Not like a Pontins.
No, exactly. No. Something that somewhere you'd actually want to go. And I have to say, I think I prefer to be back inside to the situation I'm currently facing.
Well, you could easily arrange that. Just put on the Honey Monster costume, Rob. Get out there, and I reckon it will take about 15 minutes for the police to pick you up.
Alex, I've told you this before. I don't have it. It's still being...
You burnt it.
No, I wasn't allowed it back after the trial.
Right. This is episode 313. And weirdly, Rob, we are recording on the 13th of May. Now, whether or not you view 13 as unlucky or lucky, because it used to be actually regarded as lucky, take your pick. So maybe this will be a very good episode, Rob, or in some way it will be cursed. Are you sure are we both sure that we are recording right now? We're not, we haven't got any gremlins.
My mic is definitely picking something up, and I can see the waveform. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything is okay.
Good. Same here. Rob, how are you coping with because the situation, like genuinely, how are you coping?
Okay, in all honesty, my anxiety is off the scale. It goes up and down, Alex, I'll be honest. I mean, for those listeners, I'm happy to talk about this. For those listeners who don't know, I do actually have a general anxiety condition. And the stress of the job has made that quite bad over the last couple of weeks.
But has it been exacerbated by being cooped up as well?
I think it has, yeah. I think it's just getting used to the change in circumstances. Do you know what I mean? It's just trying to adapt to your surroundings. And I think I am wondering now whether I'm going to struggle to go outside again. So last night I went to go and give blood. This is because I didn't realise it was still happening, but I went to go and give a blood donation. And I realised it was the longest I've been outside the house since lockdown started.
Right. Yeah.
And I do wonder whether when the restrictions are lifted, and I mean properly lifted and not the whatever you call this right now.
A shambles, I think is what we call it right now, Rob.
Exactly. I do wonder whether it would be quite an effort to reacclimatise to getting the tube into work and just, meeting people after work for a drink, that kind of thing, just reacclimatising to everything.
Well, it's also the fact that we're all a lot less active. I mean, normally in a day, even through work, I mean, you're getting up, you're walking around, you're walking from the train station to work, from home to the train station, all that kind of stuff. You're quite a big walker, Rob. And I did say walker.
Thank you, Alex. I am, yeah. I do like quite a long walk. And the other thing I had a conversation with my manager about the other day is I'm basically working, because Alex, you're working in the same room as you're recording, I'm assuming, or do you work downstairs?
No. I actually haven't. Yeah, I only come into this room to do the podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, I realised that I didn't realise. Well, I realised and then I didn't realise. What I'm trying to say is, I'm working in my kitchen, and because I have quite a small flat, there's nowhere else I can realistically work in. This is the best place for it. What I'm trying to say is, there's no real disconnect from when I finish work to going about my normal life. No. Whereas when I didn't realise how much I actually appreciated the commute into work and then the way home, because it's that physical barrier between your work life and your home life.
You know what's interesting about that, Rob? You'll remember from the workplace where we met. For a time, I was living a 15-minute walk from it. I was living in central London. I don't know how I managed to afford the rent, but I was, and I much preferred it when I moved out to the suburbs, because the commute in and back, at least psychologically, felt like a coming to and a departing from work, whereas I never felt that when I could just walk 15 minutes home.
Absolutely. And I never realised how much I appreciated it, because on the way in, I might listen to a podcast, I might listen to music, I do the same on the way home, and it's that I use that time to physically unwind or prepare myself. And it's a significant loss, which I hadn't fully appreciated beforehand.
Well, anyway, this is a podcast, in case people are wondering. It's not just Rob and I talking. It's not Daft Talk. It is a podcast all about news stories. And Rob and I were saying, I mean, look, listeners will have noticed we're not picking up a lot of local news, which is what this podcast is meant to be about. It's a lot more general news, but who cares? It's fucking funny. But we really could just rebrand this and call it General Anaesthetic, Rob. And talking of General Anaesthetic, Rob, I just wanted to say that the government's response to gradually easing this lockdown, to me, just looks plainly transparent as we want to get the working classes back to work. We want them, but it does, doesn't it? We want them back in the workhouses so that the top dogs who own the companies can get their sort of corn in. And what I love about it is this whole thing of like nannies are allowed back to work. Nannies, it's that kind of thing. It's like, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? It's very clear what your priorities are. They don't care about people. It's herding the cattle back onto the tubes because they need to get them back into the factories. But fuck it. Do you know what I mean?
You're right, Alex. Absolutely. It's those who unfortunately work in the gig economy and maybe work on 0 hours contracts who basically can't afford to be off work for long periods. And so those are the ones being coerced back into work. And I mean, I was watching, some of the pictures that were circulating this morning of people on the tube. Social distancing has gone out the window. And I know it's quite clear what's going to happen. And it's really quite terrifying.
Yes. But anyway, can I just say, Rob, do you have any news?
Just a few bits. Kyber, thank you for your message on Facebook about finding LA on YouTube. We know it's not the easiest to find. We were discussing just to take it.
I don't think anybody's. Look, it's on spot. Do we need it there? I think just take it off.
No, I think it might have to be taken down. And also going back to Ben. And this is Ben who.
But do you know what, Rob? Actually, we might as well just leave it there. It might pick up the odd listener here and there. Who gives a fuck? It's not costing us anything.
No, good point. Yeah, okay. I mean, someone might happen across it and listen to an episode. Who knows? And Ben, just to say, I have listened to Camper Van Beethoven. I very much enjoyed the song. I'm sorry I haven't come back to you on Facebook yet.
Right, I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's fine. Rob, I just wanted to say that one of the things I dread whenever we do this podcast is that I always worry that one of us is going to, because listeners will have noticed now, Rob and I have started a new podcast, Daft Talk, and the episodes alternate. So one episode is LA Podcast, one episode is Daft Talk. That one day we're going to get together and one of us is going to think it's LA Podcast and the other is going to think it's Daft Talk. And do you see what I mean? Like today I did question, shit, have I got it right?
That's only a matter of time. That will happen at some stage.
Yeah, well, it'll make for an interesting podcast. But this is LA Podcast, Rob, and look, notwithstanding your general anxiety disorder, I just wanted to read you out the most brilliantly fatalistic, pessimistic, I don't know how to describe it, headline I've ever seen in my life, which was on the 5th of May in the Daily Telegraph.
Right.
And I spent about half an hour in the morning just laughing over the headline. It kept me going for a good half an hour of and actually, I might just read out a bit of the article till you tell me to stop. It was by Zoe Strimple, and the headline was, "Prepare for a dystopian post-lockdown world of fear, misery, and loneliness."
Oh my God!
And she wrote, Rob, "It's only been 6 weeks, but it feels like forever. Party going, hugging friends and weaving one's way through packed pubs seem as though they belong to another universe. How to begin to return to that distant land? We will be offered some idea on Sunday when the government is expected to outline the road out of lockdown back to some semblance of normal life." Well, we know what happened with that, Rob. "Except that any hopes for return to anything like our old lives, particularly the joys of unplanned, unchoreographed activity, are likely to be crushed. What's in store seems not so much a return to normalcy, but the introduction of dreary, confusing twilight zone, somewhere between living and not living, in which you can leave your house and even go places, but only do so via baroque and stringent rules crafted to keep you as far away from others as possible," etc. It goes
Alex.
on and on and on.
What was she hoping to achieve with that article?
That's very true. But what I love, there was just a comment was, "What an uplifting article, just what I need to read in the morning." And somebody else just wrote, "I think you need to see a psychiatrist." But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because I just loved the headline. Right, let's talk about something that's a bit more upbeat. The New York Post, Rob, which is basically a tabloid in New York for people who don't know.
Yep.
It's by Tamar Lapin. This is a true fucking story. I'd have to say
Okay.
How many of my stories... In fact, I think all of my stories could be out of a parallel universe or an April Fool's Day story. All of them.
Well, one of the podcasts I listen to, they regularly do a feature whereby one of the hosts picks a variety of stories and includes a story from The Onion.
Yes, and you've got to guess.
And yeah, and the fact is, it really is quite alarming how many of those stories could genuinely be from The Onion because they are that farcical. But in this dystopian reality...
Onion is a fake news site, by the way, but deliberately fake news, not as in... not.
No. Yeah. It's a very good site. If people haven't gone to it, I would really recommend searching out. But yeah, it's bizarre how many of these stories in this current reality are just beyond parody. They're just a beyond farce.
Well, here's one for you, Rob. Headline: 5-year-old caught driving to California to buy himself a Lamborghini.
So okay.
What I love is if we are living in some kind of simulation. Do you remember, Rob? Do you remember that brilliant episode of Red Dwarf, Better Than Life? One of the all-time classics, where the episode starts off and they're all in this scenario and you're going along with it, and then then they wake up and they realise that they're playing this game.
Yes,
and they're hooked in and they have to unplug them. And that guy played by the famous actor Timothy Spalding, I think he's the kind of guy who runs the game, or like he's a bit like the janitor, but he has to come in and get them out. Famous actor, but who was in Red Dwarf, and he says to he's like talking to them about, did you enjoy this in the game, and did you enjoy that in the game, and they have no idea what he's talking about because they never really got that far into it. And basically he was like, oh, you were playing loser mode, were you? Anyway. It's an absolutely brilliant episode. But what would happen here is if we were unplugged from the simulation, people would say to us, how did you not realise? Like they'd show you headlines in front of your face and say, these were so ridiculous and you believed them. Donald Trump as president, you believed it. All this sort of stuff.
Do you know what? As soon as you said that, you're absolutely right. That really hit me in the face.
We're playing loser mode, Rob.
It does feel like we are literally now playing a game that we've taken a wrong turn and we have no way of turning back. We are so far down this path now that
we've got to unplug ourselves, Rob.
God, that's terrifying.
Well, anyway, let's hear this story. Hot Wheels weren't enough for him. A 5-year-old boy was caught driving his parents' car on a freeway in Utah on Monday, apparently on his way to California to buy a Lamborghini. The kid made it a handful of miles from his home in Ogden to the I-15's 25th Street off-ramp, the Utah Highway Patrol said. Troopers initially thought they'd stumbled upon an impaired driver, which I think means drunk, but soon found their perpetrator was actually a child with a penchant for luxury cars. The boy told him he left home after an argument with his mum, who refused to buy him a Lamborghini. I'm looking at a picture of him here. So he decided to get one himself. He might have been short on the purchase amount as he only had $3 in his wallet, troops posted on Twitter. Their post included a photo of the boy in a grey sweatshirt and patterned shorts, wringing his hands inside his parents' car. Sergeant Nick Street confirmed to local outlet KSL that the boy is indeed 5 years old. Cops didn't mention a punishment for the boy, but going to bed without dinner could be in his future.
Sorry, Alex.
And I've got a video of them, chasing him down the I-15.
How does a 5-year-old know? I realise that most cars in the US are automatic, so he needs to just put it in drive.
How do you see over the fucking steering wheel?
Yeah, how does a child know how to do this?
I know.
Wait, in what reality? Oh, I know. Do you know what? There's no point dwelling on it, but fuck me, Jesus Christ.
I'm worried, Rob, that I may trigger a psychotic episode in you with these stories.
Oh, God. Not again. Carry on, Alex, carry on.
Right, Rob, before I get on to my next story, you know what we were talking about earlier? We were talking about Red Dwarf and everything.
Yeah.
Is it therefore possible that you are Lister and I am Rimmer, basically here to keep you sane?
I mean, it's possible, Alex. I think the only upside to this, not the fact that it would be a downside that you're here to be saying, but I am able to communicate with other people. Whereas I think Lister was very much confined to 3 people, and that was pretty much it. Apart from those they encountered on one of their adventures.
But these people you commune with, Rob, are figments of your imagination, as we've discussed. Can I just say to you that we were talking earlier about we need to unplug ourselves. What if the clue was in that story we had with the man banging his head on the floor shouting America in Bali? Maybe that was the clue from inside the game that tells you how you escape. Who's going to do it first, you or me?
Maybe that's it. So in Red Dwarf, they have to clap their hands together.
Yes.
And maybe, that was the only way he could get out of that, by banging his head on the floor shouting America. It seems like a strange way out, but, it's definitely a way out of something, but...
Well, Rob, talking of the fantastical, I'm going to take you now to the Magic Kingdom. Course closed down. Poor Disney, they're losing a lot of money because all their parks are closed. But I know, Rob, that for you, Disneyland Paris holds a particular place in your heart because, of course, that is where you discovered your favourite restaurant in the world, now closed down, called the Blue Lagoon.
That's right.
Which basically was the restaurant that was part of the Pirates of the Caribbean experience, where I think you had some very nice shrimp and a romantic evening there, as I recall.
That's correct. I'm not sure it's shrimp. I can't remember quite. It was a long time ago now, but it was a definitely an evening to remember, nevertheless.
Well, I don't want to know all the details, but this is about Disney World. I love this story, Rob. I'm sorry to say it's from the Fox News website, but we'll let that one go. First time ever. It's by Breeze.
I think, as far as I'm aware, that for some reason Disneyland Shanghai, I believe, has reopened recently.
Yes.
So one of the parks is open. I don't know why that is, but...
Well, this is from Bree Stimson. May the 3rd. I love this story, Rob. Headline: Disney World's trespass suspect viewed Discovery Island as, in quotes, tropical paradise, authorities say.
Right, okay.
A man arrested at Disney World in Florida last week for attempting to quarantine from the coronavirus on Discovery Island viewed the small park-owned island as a tropical paradise, authorities say. Rob, we got to give it to this guy. He wants to escape, everybody. He knows that Disney World is closed down. What better place to go to get away from everything? And you got everything you need, Rob.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, let's face it, the weather in Florida, as we know, is more or less sunshine 24/7. So if you're in a deserted Disneyland on, a man-made island, but in the sun...
Disney World, Rob.
Disney World, sorry. Is that not a tropical paradise to some extent?
Well, suspect Richard Maguire, 42, told Orange County Sheriff's deputies he'd been on the island since Monday or Tuesday and had planned to camp there for a week. The Associated Press reported. Maguire said he was sleeping in a building and didn't hear the numerous deputies attempting to make contact with him on the ground, on the water, and in the air. So they had people, presumably on adjacent islands, shouting at him. They had people on boats and they had helicopters. But he says, I didn't hear it.
It's possible, Alex. Maybe he was cuddled up to one of the I don't know. What's on Discovery Island? What is that? Is that Pirates of the Caribbean? Does it say what rides are on there?
Could be, Rob. Maybe he was hanging out at the old Blue Lagoon. He also claimed he didn't know that the island on Bay Lake across from Disney's Magic Kingdom Park was restricted, despite multiple posted no trespassing signs and 2 closed gates. A Disney security representative said she asked the agency to press charges after she saw Maguire using a company boat to get to the island.
Nice.
So he stole it from this... Right, again, how could you write this? He broke into Disney World... He stole a company boat. He's like in his own Jurassic Park. I love it.
Alex, if you've already broken into to Disney World, then why would you not take advantage of the facilities?
Well, yeah, but Orange County Marine deputies also told Maguire the area is restricted from a public announcement system, so it was ringing out across the park to no avail. Discovery Island was previously a Disney attraction that showcased exotic birds and plants before closing to the public in 1999, soon after the Animal Kingdom theme park opened. That leads another air of mystery, Rob.
Yeah.
This is an island that was once part of the experience but was closed down, and you wonder, Rob, what things were going on that island. What kind of experiments, Rob? I retract that immediately. Disney are a wonderful organisation and, of course, own Star Wars, whose merchandise of which I'm surrounded by.
Yeah, I would. But I did go to the same place as you. I was concerned that this has been closed for the best part of 20 years, and maybe there was some contagion there, or possibly some sort of, I don't know, animal sex ring.
Whoa! The attraction originally opened as a pirate-themed experience called Treasure Island in 1974. Maguire was arrested without incident. It was not immediately clear if he had a lawyer who could comment. And I reckon if he did have a lawyer, it was Lionel Hutz.
Yeah, I don't. Any man that breaks into Disney World to Shield, I don't think is going to have legal representation.
Right, Rob. Before we get to your stories, I've got one more here, and then I've got one more later in the episode. Again, both of them must be proof, Rob, that we're not living in the reality we think we are. This, Rob, is extraordinary. This is a local news, Californian website. WMCActionNews5.com. They're a local news outlet, okay?
Okay.
No journalist listed the 10th of May. Are you ready for this? Actually, I'm not going to read... No, I will. I'll read the fucking headline. Man allegedly climbs under speeding truck filled with wine, drinks from tank.
Oh my God. So, is this literally a tanker full of wine?
This is a proper tanker. Right. This is in Modesto, California. A California man was arrested after he allegedly forced the driver of a tanker truck, and you know how big those are, Rob?
Yeah.
Carrying red wine to pull over, climbed on board and began drinking from the tank as the truck continued down the highway.
This just reminds me of The Simpsons when Barney climbs over the bar and basically just turns the tap on and just lets it just flow into his mouth.
That is exactly what I thought. The dashcam video from a Cherokee Freight Lines tanker truck hauling bulk red wine through Modesto, California. Can I just say, I also suspect that red wine isn't the best quality. I think that any wine that's being transported in a tanker is your bottom of the line house wine, no?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, for me, that would probably be a step down from a wine box, because you're just
Yeah.
moving it en masse in, because that's not going to be a vintage, is it?
No. Anyway, the video allegedly shows 39-year-old suspect Gabriel Marino in a sedan, putting his hazard lights on and directing the truck to the side of the highway. So his plan is, I'm gonna basically ambush this tanker, this wine tanker. So he drives down the highway, pulls up in front of it, puts his hazards on and signals to the truck to pull over. So the truck driver, believing he must have a mechanical problem, pulled over, only to see Marino get out of his car wearing just his underwear. He ran to the passenger side of the truck, out of view of the camera. So the driver thinks, okay, nutter, but he's gone, right? Because he's run out of sight. So he pulls back onto the freeway, to continue his journey to deliver this wine, and another onboard camera captured the suspect jump back into view and then onto the back of the wine tanker with no shirt on and no shoes. Marino rode on the left side of the tanker, then climbed underneath the truck as it hit freeway speeds. All the time, the driver doesn't know about this because, of course, it's being recorded by this camera at the back. Is this real?
Surely the driver of this truck is negligent, because I don't know. If I was stopped by a man in his underwear and then he just disappeared, I think I would do some follow-up to see where that man had gone. If nothing else, for his own...
He might have been scared. He might have been worried, Rob. He might have been worried that this guy was going to ambush him, so he just got the hell out of there. You don't expect him to be clinging on to the... It's not a movie. This is like a movie.
I am quite concerned now that at some stage reality is starting to crumble, or at least, we are in some sort of weird... God knows what.
Anyway, authorities say the suspect unscrewed a valve that sent the tanker's wine gushing out and gulped as much of it as he could. The truck driver called the California Highway Patrol after he noticed a dashboard gauge showing he was losing fluids. Hundreds of gallons of red wine. I've listened to the radio, he said. I've listened to thousands and thousands of calls. Sorry, this is a police officer. This one's up there in the top 10. This individual was able to release the wine from under the tanker. So he's clinging under the tanker at freeway speeds. So we're talking probably 70, 80 miles per hour. He placed himself underneath the tanker in such a manner. The best way to describe this was somebody doing snow angels. And he gulped as much wine as he could.
Amazing.
Marino was arrested. The trucking company weighed the tanker following the incident and found that it had lost 1,000 gallons of red wine, most of it ending up on the highway. That's enough to fill, Rob, about 5,000 bottles. And we don't know how much of that he consumed.
Alex, this man was obviously having maybe some sort of crisis, but also, could the wine company not take something from this? Because surely there's an advert in this somewhere. Our wine is so good, we're going to stop one of our tankers, cling to the side for dear life, and gulp as much as you can. California wine.
Or a more condensed version could be, our wine is so good, you'll commit a felony for it.
Perfect.
Okay, Rob. Have you got some stories for us?
Yeah, unfortunately, listeners, I'm going to continue with, as Alex said at the beginning, this is going to be a general anaesthetic because I've got no local stories because I might have to give it to local news. It seems that at the moment they are quite newsworthy, which is really quite depressing for our benefit. So,
Rob, I'm really sorry. I was listening to what you said, but I just had a question for you. When I met you and your hair was long, yes, it wasn't like bleached blonde or anything, but it was blonde, a dirty blonde. But your hair at the moment is brown.
I'm not sure I like being my hair being called dirty blonde.
No, it's a shade. It's a shade, Rob. Rob,
it is brown. Yeah, I mean, Alex, when you first met me, there probably was highlights in there. There might have been.
Really?
It might have been highlighted. Yeah.
Okay.
Alex, that was back in the carefree days of 2008.
Fuck, I'd go back to that right now.
That was when I was living free. I used to go to the beach and just chill out and surf some waves. That's not true. Anyway.
Sorry, Rob, I interrupted you from your story.
So, both my stories are from the Mirror, because that's where we turn to when we look for comedy. So the first story is by Paige Holland from the 11th of May. And the headline, "Husband wants to name our baby after the cat, but people say he'll get bullied."
Now, we had a question, didn't we, on Daft Talk, on our last episode of Daft Talk, from that woman who was really upset because her husband wanted to name their child Gary, because he wanted to revive the name Gary, and she really didn't want to name their child Gary. But what's this one about?
So, picking a name for your baby is pretty daunting. It's something they'll have to live with forever, after all. Many take inspirations from their loved ones, their favourite places, or their passions, but one mother-to-be was left baffled when her husband suggested naming after an unexpected family member. The couple came up with a list of names, and the woman discovered her other half wanted something slightly unusual. So, here are some of his suggestions, Alex. She vetoed his suggestions of Cyrus.
Cyrus?
Cyrus, yeah.
Cyrus is all right. Is that Cyrus?
Cyrus, yeah.
I like Cyrus. I think you can get away with.
Athelstan.
Sorry, Applestan.
Athelstan.
Athelstan.
Yeah.
I've never heard that name.
I do wonder whether her husband was just taking the piss. And Lancelot.
Oh, I think he wants strong names, doesn't he? Lancelot would be... I assume Lance is short for Lancelot, technically.
Oh, yeah, possibly, actually. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Lance Armstrong's full name is Lancelot Armstrong, and if it is, that's a fucking strong name. Although he's still a prick.
Yeah, I really hope it is. But, however, there was one name he was determined to keep on his shortlist, and it was their cat's name. She took to Mumsnet to ask other parents for their thoughts, and users couldn't believe his suggestions. So she wrote, "So finally getting DH, i.e. dear husband, to start at least thinking about baby names within the next couple of weeks, and after crossing off the unappealing Cyrus, Athelstan and Lancelot style names, we finally have a shortlist, one of which is the cat's name." So the two names that are down to, Alex, are Kitty and Wraith.
Wraith?
Yeah.
Go with Wraith.
Yeah, I like Wraith. What's wrong with Kitty?
For a boy?
Yeah.
Quite a lot. I mean, that is just severe bullying. I mean, it's abusive, isn't it, to name your child Kitty? You might as well name him Tease Me.
But Kitty, I think, is kind of like a you can imagine like a woman from the 1950s called Kitty.
But it's a boy.
Well, there's that. Yeah, good point. She went on to list some of the other names they were considering, including, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Maxim, Ivo, Mungo, Jonty,
Can I say,
and Jago.
Sorry. Please, Mungo. Because that takes me back to a brilliant Monty Python sketch. Well, actually, it was pre-Monty Python, but it was some of the same guys. And the chef in that sketch, for anybody who's seen it, was called Mungo. It's a brilliant sketch. Mungo is a brilliant name. It suggests to me somebody who's deranged. Is that
the Monty Python sketch which the chef comes out and threatens them with a meat cleaver?
Yes. Yeah. And they say, maybe that is the one, actually. And I'm thinking, there's another one earlier which is very similar, but actually I think it is this one with the chef's called Mungo. And he's played by John Cleese. And they say to him, no, Mungo, never kill a customer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that, yeah. So it turns out, by the way, that Mungo is actually the cat's name. Kitty was a suggestion, but wasn't actually named after the cat. Mungo was the cat's name.
Right, and I'm assuming people on this said, divorce him.
One person said, "Oh God, no, not Mungo. The baby will get called Mingo." I don't know why people would think.
No, they'll get called Mungo, and it'll be awful. I prefer to be called Mingo than Mungo.
One person asked, "What's wrong with Mungo?" What's wrong with Mingo? Which received a comment from another saying "Minger" or "Minging." Another agreed, "Fuck me, I've never." Fuck me, I've never commented on name threads, but Mungo has got to be a joke. He is joking, right? And a third said, "Your husband has to be pulling your leg with Mungo. Ha ha ha." Anyway, that's the end of that story.
And if he was pulling her leg, then she's very gullible and idiotic to go on Mumsnet and talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's Mumsnet. I've never had the pleasure myself, but I think I've heard enough about it to realise that it needs to be avoided at all costs.
Mumsnet's on my bookmarks, Rob. I visit it regularly. It's where I get these stories.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding, of course.
Second story from the Mirror. I think this goes back a bit, although I can't actually see a date on it. Oh, there we are, the 2nd of April. It's by Luke Matthews, who apparently is the audience writer, which is good to know. Headline: Woman seeking advice on old bottle stopper, mortified to learn what it is.
Right. Do you think, Rob, I reckon there must be a rule within journalism that if you've got a very outlandish sort of story that's very bizarre, that the editorial policy is you're not allowed to publish it on April the 1st because people might confuse it for an April Fool's. So there might actually be quite a wealth of interesting stories which come out on April the 2nd every year.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, yeah. It wouldn't surprise me.
No research to back that up. But,
no, but
a bit like government policy, fair. I'll go with it anyway.
So, a churchgoer who sought help to identify what she believed was a vintage bottle stopper was left saying there isn't enough soap after being told exactly what it was.
Oh God.
A woman known as Jane posted images of the unknown item to a glass collector Facebook group asking for help after it was discovered washed up in a garden following a heavy storm.
Rob, is it some kind of plug?
Jane, 61, wrote, "Got a friend of my sister that came across a solid glass piece. Since she couldn't figure out, she reached out to me, and now I'm reaching out to all of you. Hoping to get an idea of what it is. Only thing coming to mind is either a glass bottle stopper for a decanter or possibly a chess piece. It's 4.5 inches tall, 1.5 diameter at the fat part, and 1.75 at the base. No significant scratches anywhere."
Stop, Rob! I'm so fucking embarrassed for her. How is she meant to know? Oh my God.
With some quick to recognise exactly what the treasure was. One broke it to Jane as gently as he possibly could, replying, "It's a stopper."
Stop. How do you break that gently? What form of words do you say that don't involve the word butt plug?
Well, the commenter basically said, "It's a stopper, just not for a bottle."
Right, but I don't think this woman would have still understood.
No. Reading through some of the less cryptic replies, Jane from Indiana discovered her husband was now in the possession of a sex toy. She updated the post to say, "I am thankful I know nothing of this world that uses products such as this, and quite frankly, I don't want to know."
She's like Eve in the Garden of Eden, Rob. She's eaten the forbidden fruit. Now her eyes are open. Now she does know. That's the thing. Do you reckon the husband had something to do with this? This thing turns up in the garden.
Oh, can you imagine that in some way they were trying to introduce this into their sex play?
Or he
said, "Oh, I wonder what this is. I found in the garden. There's a heavy rain last night.
It's fallen from heaven."
Because I don't know. I don't know how heavy a rain needs to be for me to discover a glass butt plug in my back garden, which is not a euphemism.
Yeah, that needs to be some kind of tornado. I mean, that would be heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, like a glass butt plug. Something's really splashing out on this.
Yes, Rob. Is that story? I'm just amazed because this story segues brilliantly on to my next story in a way that I could never have predicted. Yes. There's some more comments I'd like to focus on. So Jane and her sister have since been able to see the funny side, with the public confusion leaving them cracking up at the post gathering so much attention. The moderator had to disable comments simply to keep up. Messages included one that said, "So are we calling this an arse glass?" Makes sense. A second advised, "It's a stopper, right? But think orifice, not bottle." And they're going like that, Alex, as you can imagine. Well, Rob, as I said, fortuitously, this segues brilliantly onto my next story, which was reported in a lot of places, Rob. But as it involves a very famous rock and roller, I have gone to the publication which we've never featured before, Guitar World.
Right.
Rob, this story is fucking brilliant. Rob, look, nearly all of our content this week could have been out of the day-to-day.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is why I think that if you wanted to bring a programme back like the day-to-day or Brass Eye back, you couldn't.
No, but then Emmanuel Nucci has said this on many occasions. I think we've cited this.
You'd have to just give very normal news headlines, because that would seem more bizarre.
Yeah, because I think some of the things, as you said, some of the stories we featured this week are just they are beyond parody.
Well, here's another one. It's by Richard Beinstock, Rob. Headline: Brian May tore his buttocks in a freak gardening accident. The pain is relentless. Is his quote.
I read this. Yeah, I read this.
And you didn't want to feature it?
No, why didn't I? I think that's a good point, actually. Why didn't I feature it? That's a very good question, Alex.
Brian May might have eased up on all his quarantining video activities, which have included everything from teaching how to play Bohemian Rhapsody to jamming with fans and other artists. But he has a reason. The Queen electric guitar legend tore his buttocks in a gardening accident. I think what I love, Rob, is his Instagram post, okay? So The Instagram post is a picture of him with his hair all out, which is very grey now, and he's wearing a face mask in the picture. I'm going to read his Instagram post.
Okay.
Reality check for me. No, the virus didn't get me yet, thank God. Hope you're all keeping extra safe out there. A decision to relax controls doesn't suddenly make the danger go away. But me? Yes, I've been quiet. Reason? As well as getting overstretched and harassed by too many demands, I managed to rip my glutinous maximus to shreds in a moment of over-enthusiastic gardening. Now, I'm going to read the rest of the Instagram post out in a minute, Rob, but I just wanted to highlight the sentence. As well as getting overstretched and harassed by too many demands, I managed to rip my gluteus maximus. Now, is the phrase overstretched and harassed by too many demands a euphemism?
Yeah. Is he trying to imply that he's been shoving too many things up his arse?
So I suddenly find myself in a hospital getting scanned to find out exactly how much I've actually damaged myself. Turns out I did a thorough job. This is a couple of days ago and I won't be able to walk for a while or sleep without a lot of assistance because the pain is relentless. So folks, I need to go dark for a while, getting some complete rest at home. Please don't send me sympathy. I just need some healing silence for a while. I'll be back, but I need a complete break, okay? Thanks. Take care out there. Bri. Rob, this is not a gardening accident. Something else has happened and he needs to go dark.
Because that's going to be my question. How do you tear your arse?
Rob, this is the kind of thing that Alan Partridge... If Alan Partridge had an Instagram page, this is the kind of thing you get. Steve Coogan must be... Because obviously now is not the time for comedy, he must be sitting there just wishing that he could go. You know, you can't go on TV as Alan Partridge and go, "Hey, I'm raising money for coronavirus." You can't do any of that. No. But if he was out there, this is the kind of thing we would see. That post is pure Partridge, and it's brilliant.
Yep, I completely agree, Alex. Sending best wishes to Brian May. Hopefully your rectum recovers soon.
Indeed. Okay, Rob, it is that time for our listener story of the week. Who's it from?
So this week it is from Khyber.
Khyber has been sending a lot of stories recently.
He has, and Amy, I know you've also featured, you've submitted a lot of stories, and I will come on to those. But this one just stood out for me for the moment. It's from the Kent Online from the 2nd of May, so very topical actually. Well, topical up to about 11 days ago. It's by Ed McConnell, and the headline: Armed police and helicopter called after big cat spotted near, I think that's Igtham Moat, close to Sevenoaks, found sculpture of tiger.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, have you actually watched Tiger King yet, Rob?
No. I did mention it to Sarah.
All right, Sarah will love it.
No, she won't love it. That's the thing, because it features animal cruelty, which is why I'm going to have to watch it by my fucking self.
No. It doesn't feature animal cruelty. Not that kind of animal cruelty. There's nothing that I saw in it that's distressing of that. You know, there's nothing of it that's distressing, and there's also a lot of hope in it. She will enjoy it. Get her to watch the first episode and see what she thinks.
Okay.
It's not really so much about the animals. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's more to do with the people. Yeah. Anyway.
I've also noticed, by the way, there's been a lot of big cat sightings in local papers. So I happened to read the Bristol Live and also the Gloucestershire Live, and both had big cat sightings, different cats. But,
is this because, Rob, that with humans being indoors so much, the animals are coming out, and maybe these big cats who would be fearful of, being hunted down and killed for their being a big cat, big cat discrimination, maybe they're coming out now, Rob, and flaunting it a bit more.
I think that's what it might be, Alex. And there's nothing I can think that I would enjoy more than a gay tiger. Is that what you meant by coming out, yeah?
No.
Oh, right, okay. Well, either way, it would be nice to have some more wildcats just going around. Would it be nice, actually? I think it would be quite terrifying, wouldn't it?
Well, it would make going out a bit harder.
Yeah.
Lockdown continues as big cats prowl the capital.
I think that would be more terrifying. Yeah, you can't go out, not because of the coronavirus, because apparently there's a panther walking around.
Yeah.
Anyway, so armed officers and a police helicopter were called after a big cat was spotted, only to be confronted by a life-size sculpture of a tiger.
Rob, is this in the UK?
Yes.
It's because it's rare for armed police. Wow, this is amazing. Armed police and a helicopter. Yes. They took this fucking seriously then. Because obviously when John Mooner calls them up and says he's seen a UFO, they just hang up. But with these big cat sightings, they take them seriously, do they?
Apparently so, yeah. This was near Sevenoaks, so it wasn't even, it's not even too far away. So police were called at 10:20 a.m. to Moat Road in Igtham, near Sevenoaks, and searched the area nearby after a walker dialed 999 after encountering the...
That was Walker, yeah?
That was Walker, yeah.
My second Walker wanker joke of the episode.
Well done. After Walker dialed 999 after encountering the alarming sight. During the search, which was aided by the National Police Air Service, they established there was no animal, but could not elaborate on how they'd come to the conclusion when approached by Kent Online earlier. But photos have surfaced on social media showing exactly what walkers had seen in the woods. Martha Simpson explained the tiger spotted relaxing in a clearing had in fact been created by the sculptress grandmother, and this is... so this is Martha Simpson. So what happened, Alex? These walkers had been walking through, does it say woods? Yeah, woods, and they come to a clearing and spotted what they thought was a tiger just casually relaxing in the middle of a thicket.
Okay, but you could tell the difference between a statue and a real tiger, no? But mainly due to the complete lack of motion.
Yeah, surely you would watch it for at least a couple of seconds to see that it wasn't just sitting.
You might get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I don't know what I'd do in that situation. I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have taken at least some fit pictures.
What, really, Rob? Think about this. You see a tiger, that could kill you. I don't think you'd hang around.
Alex, all I can say is I've been to the zoo many times and I've taken millions of pictures and I've never been frightened for my life.
Yeah, but they were in a cage. And there weren't
enclosure.
tigers either. I don't know what zoos you've been going to, but...
London Zoo has tigers.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And meerkats as well. Not sure why that came to mind.
What's happening to them now then? In London Zoo? Are they feeding the animals to each other like that German zookeeper has started to do?
Yeah, it's best not to think about it, Alex. I think, God knows what's happening at the moment.
Right.
It's kind of a battle royale situation, I imagine. So, spokesman James Walker earlier said, Kent Police was called at 9:23 to Moat Road in Ingham following a report from a member of the public that a large wildcat had been seen in the area. Officers, including armed officers, attending as a precaution and following a search of the area, have established there is no animal and no risk to the public. Moat Road leads to Ingham Moat, a medieval manor house owned by a National Trust. A cyclist told Kent Online this morning that he was stopped by an officer near Ingham Moat who told him to get out of the area as soon as he could. And
Get out! It's a tiger!
Because a big cat was on the loose.
What?
Was
this during lockdown?
When was it? It must have been, it was May.
What was this guy doing on his bike?
Alex, he's allowed to take some exercise.
Yeah.
Only to be stopped by a member of the police told there's a tiger on the loose, get out of the area. Although strangely, right?
And again, Rob, behind your head is the sign that every week says, beware of the cat.
Alex, I'm a realist. I know that, as nature returns, so will the big cats. Very strangely, it goes on to say, a few minutes before being stopped by the officer, the biker saw a helicopter in the sky and heard 2 gunshots.
They're shooting this statue. So they were fooled as well. How fucking realistic. Have we got a picture of the statue?
Yeah, there is a picture actually.
I need to see it. Right. What's the headline, Rob?
The headline is armed police.
Hang on.
And so armed police, helicopter,
tiger,
and then put Sevenoaks.
I got it. Armed police called out to catch a... Rob, I'm sorry. I'm looking... It's not even a realistic sculpture, Rob. It looks like it's made of paper mache.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm going to look at another one. Oh, I'm happy to see it was covered in India as well. The Indian Express. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, no. So it's sort of reclining. Actually, I could see that from a distance. From a distance, that looks like a fucking tiger. But it's not moving.
No. But this is what I mean. Would you not just wait around for at least a few seconds to see if it made any sort of gesture that might indicate it's alive or, real?
Oh, wow. In the I've got a picture here that somebody put on Twitter, and it's from a distance. And lying in the grass, it looks pretty damn real. Somebody posted on Twitter, Tiger Queen is a sequel to Tiger King.
Very nice.
Somebody said, I've seen this tiger before whilst out walking, and I admit that it did momentarily freak me out until I realised it wasn't real.
So maybe Alex will give the walkers or the wankers, we don't know what they were doing, the benefit of the doubt in this situation.
Yeah, but do we give the police the benefit of the doubt? They were fucking circling this thing in a helicopter, firing shots on it.
Well, apparently the police did go on to say that apparently no shots were fired. So
this guy heard 2 gunshots. There's a fucking conspiracy going on.
We don't know, Alex. We don't know what's going on.
Maybe they killed the granny.
Maybe.
Well, on that note, Rob, on this bizarre episode, when we started this podcast, what is it, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
It was always strange, but every year it's been getting stranger and stranger, hasn't it, Rob?
It really has, yeah. Maybe
this podcast itself opened up a portal to another dimension. Maybe we did something without realising it.
I hope so, and maybe for posterity. Maybe
I mean, you hope so.
Well, what I was about to say is maybe if people go back to listen to this, they can see where we went wrong and hopefully correct the error of our ways.
I think it was the Buddy story that tipped the world over the edge. The guy who rescued a stray cat and looked after it and fed the cat tuna and cheese every evening, But one day the cat started talking to him and they started getting into an argument. And as a result of that argument, Buddy put the cat in the microwave and killed
Just
it.
imagine, Alex, if, going back to that story, there was no cat. And that this whole thing is just his paranoid delusion.
Yeah,
we are all part of that.
Didn't we say in LA podcast last week? Didn't I say whose dream did I? It was a comatose dream of.
It was the woman who basically who was in a coma, and somebody had used that image on a Facebook page to basically
that was
say
it, claiming that she had coronavirus and had recovered, and all of that, and you'd used her identity to make this fake story up, even though she was in a coma. Yes.
That's
anyway,
right.
Look, Rob. I digress. We do bring this episode of LA Podcast to a close, and we look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation, yet, well, a lot of trepidation right now, to our next episode, which will be episode 314.
Yeah.
As we move ever more forward, Rob, it's got to be, as we move ever more forward like a man pulling over a tanker, a wine tanker, jumping out of his car in his underwear, disappearing behind the tanker, and as the driver drives back off onto the freeway, terrified, not realising that the man is clinging underneath his wine tanker and gulping wine from the tanker as they hit freeway speeds. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode, which, as I say, will be episode 314. We are on our website, lapodcast.net. From there, you can download all of our previous episodes if you want to do it that way. But of course, the easy way to do it is just to listen to them on your whatever podcast app you're using, and wherever you're finding us. Can you leave us a review or hit subscribe? That really does help us. We're on Spotify. Would you believe it? Yes, we are there. Episodes are all up on YouTube as well. For some reason, I just thought, why not? And if you want to submit us a story... we're on Facebook. Facebook.com/LA Podcast and Twitter @LA Podcast. And there is an active forum on the Facebook page where, I don't know, I mean, look, just as we've said before, no illegal activity, please. No weapons trading. No drugs trading. Do you ever check, Rob, that nothing illegal is going on there?
Yeah, of course I check, Alex.
Good.
Mainly because it's me doing the selling.
Yeah, okay, well, you're the moderator, Rob, so get on it. And of course, if you want to submit us a story, you can post it on Facebook, tweet it to us @LA Podcast, or you can email us the good old-fashioned way, lapodcast.net@gmail.com. That's lapodcast.net@gmail.com. Please do not submit any stories by post. We won't read them.
Yeah. No, that would be insanity. And if you have got my address, please delete it.
Right. So, Rob, we're moving on now, as we enjoy every week, to the headlines which never made it. But unfortunately, you don't have any. I'm very upset. It's a dereliction of duty, and I've only got 3.
It's been a tough week, Alex.
Right. Okay. Alabama police search for aggressive chicken attacking people at ATMs. They did one of those things where they actually put out a call on Twitter, describing the chicken, wanted, all of this. They've taken it lighthearted, but he is causing a lot of problems.
Brilliant.
This is horrific. I advise people to look this one up to watch the video, which I have, and I wish I hadn't. Angry drunk man bites a snake to pieces after it crossed his path. This was in India, and basically he's on a moped, and this snake crosses his path, and he picks it up, sits there. I think the video I watched was about 5 minutes, and just sits there chewing the snake to death. It was horrific.
Alex, why would you watch that video?
Well, I didn't know, that I just did it based on the headline. Anyway, last one. Ohio woman calls for fire department to put fire out in her pussy. She called up the fire department that she had a fire in her crotch. I think she yelled. What did she say? I'll bring up the story. Port Clinton. A Port Clinton woman faces several charges after calling 911 and saying she needs to have a fire put out in her crotch. 50 years old, she called the police department on 10 p.m. Saturday, asking for the fire department because her pussy was on fire, according to a police report. She was charged with felony disrupting public services and misdemeanor making false alarms.
So can I just clarify? So there was no actual. So basically, her loins were on fire. She wasn't. She wasn't on fire herself. She was just sexually frustrated.
No, she didn't say that. She said, I need somebody to come and put it out with their hose.
Again, sexually frustrated.
Quite possibly. Well, Rob, look, that brings another episode of LA Podcast to an end. I've really enjoyed this episode. It's been weird and wonderful. Well, more weird than wonderful. Or maybe both.
It has been, yeah.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We've really enjoyed your company as always. Keep submitting those stories. Next episode is going to be another episode of Daft Talk, which will be episode 6, I think, of Daft Talk. And then after that, we'll be back for episode 314 of LA Podcast. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too. God bless.
And keep it local.